Hello and welcome back to this House of Walls. As always, I am sitting here with a very large cup of coffee and off to the side a big stack of books. I can't believe that I'm already talking about February books. That doesn't seem real. But I have an amazing stack to go through and I can't wait to share with you all. First in my stack, Sense and Sensibility. Did not finish it in January. That's okay. I'm going to continue. I've counted how many I have in the box set for Jane Austen books, and there's 6. So I figure if I can finish one every 2 months, I am good to go, and I will still meet my goal by reading all of Jane Austen's books by the end of the month. So far, I am enjoying it. I do think that listening to it and following along in the book is helpful for me, but that does slow me down because I really then have to dedicate time to pick it up. So hopefully in February I get this done and then move on to her next book. My next book, I did finish this in January, so this is just a placeholder. This is The Bear and the Nightingale, the first in the, what is the trilogy called? I don't know. But the second book is The Girl in the Tower, and I don't have it yet. It is on its way, and so this is just a placeholder. I loved the first book, and I cannot wait to see where the series goes in the second book. So if you don't know, this first book was a historical fantasy set in Russia. And so you get a lot of historical elements and some kind of underlying fantasy until later in the book when it kind of comes front and center. I absolutely loved this book and cannot wait to start the second. And another's, we're going to start the second in the Broken Earth trilogy. Yep. And so this is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. I loved the first one. The world building is so unique, so unlike our world. The totally different government system and the community setups, and then following kind of earth movers that can, with their mind, just connect to the earth and move it to do whatever they want with it. I have no idea what's going to happen in the second one, and I can't really tell you more about what happens in the first because I don't like spoilers. So I cannot wait to start the second one and continue in this amazing world. Alright, my next 2 books are for different challenges that I am doing this year. So the first is Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly, and this is for Angie's book challenge for this year, and so this one for February had to have a theme of friendship. So while it's not a main theme in this book, it is a theme throughout. So I am going to pick this up. I have a friend that read this a couple months ago and has been raving about it, and so I'm so excited to start. It is a historical fiction set during World War II. As you can see, I got it from a thrift store and it had been marked down to 58 cents. So that was fantastic, and I can't wait to get a little bit of a historical fiction in my TBR. All right, my next book is for Chantel Reads All Day for her reading challenge for the year, and for February, the cover or the spine had to have complementary colors, so blue and this kind of orange. I'll take it. This is the Witch's Heart. I believe it's a retelling that has to do with Norse mythology. Super interested in reading it. It's been on my shelf for a while and can't wait to get started. Hello, future Ashley here. I am sitting here editing the video, and after watching Chantel post her video with her TBR and just understanding how she set up her challenge, I was a little mistaken on how to pick my book for this month, and it's supposed to, each book is picked based on the previous book that you had picked. So my pick for January was The Bear and the Nightingale, so it's supposed to have a contrasting color from this book. I am going to keep The Witch's Heart. I'm going to be going off of the blue from The Bear and the Nightingale and do the orange as the contrasting color in The Witch's Heart because I really, really want to read this. My TBR is already built, and they are contrasting colors. So, there we go. Now back to the rest of the video. The next book here doesn't have a real actual category with how it got into my TBR, other than I do know that there's going to be a mini-series, I believe. I have not yet read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, so I figured this would be a great month to pick it up. I go into books pretty blind. I know it's set in the 60s with kind of a rock star and everything that goes into that. So now I can finally read it and know what all the hype is about. My next two books are specifically picked because it's going to be February and there's Valentine's Day. So the first one I have is The Wedding Date. I found this in a little free library sometime last year, and I have been holding on to it for February. I don't know what to expect from it. I have a feeling it will be kind of like a little Hallmark rom-com kind of book, but I figure February is the perfect month to pick this up. And then my next book to go with my February Valentine's theme is These Violent Delights. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I've heard kind of mediocre reviews about it, but I did get this from Book of the Month quite a while ago, November 2020. So I figure this was a fantastic time to pick it up and read it. I love Romeo and Juliet, and so I'm interested in this retelling. My last book to show you, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I got this in my January Book of the Month, and my TBR has just been too full for January, so I am going to read this in February and start this, and then we'll see. I might just move into Hellbent right in February, or put Hellbent on March's TBR. I'm not quite sure yet. I do know this is very dark academia. I know that there's a lot of trigger warnings behind this book, but that people who have read it just absolutely love it. So I can't wait. So those are all the books that I have picked out so far for January. There will probably be a couple more added to it. I am in an in-person book club, and we are meeting the very beginning of February, so whatever is picked for that month will be added to that stack. I also like to add any kind of Book of the Month book to this pile, and that hasn't been released yet, so I don't have it. And then whatever else I figure on adding to that pile until I am sitting here looking at it mid-month, wondering how I'm going to read all of the books. But I love having a TBR. I used to not, and I used to just pull from my shelves when I was done with a book. But this goes on to a little separate side table where I can pick and choose what I'm going to read that month. So let me know if you have read any of these and have any opinions about them. I would love to know. And I will bring you guys along as I read this huge stack of books in February.